What up, what up, what up? Mr. Haddock here. What a great day to learn some science. Today we are going to be focusing on section 2.7 clouds. I would like you to take notes in your online notebook, so please make sure that that is up and ready for you to access. As well as I recommend for some sections of the notes actually finding some Google images that show you what the different clouds look like. So when we get to that point, Google search the clouds that we're studying and insert a picture for each cloud type. That way you understand what it looks like. Well, without further delay, let's get moving on our video lecture. First thing we need to understand is how clouds form. Clouds are made up of billions with a B, of tiny water droplets and or ice crystals. Clouds typically form in the troposphere, and the ones that we will be learning about today are all located in the troposphere. You can find some clouds rarely in the stratosphere, as well as I believe the mesosphere. Another thing that you need to know is where the water vapor comes from. Well, the water vapor comes from the air. Down here on Earth's surface, the water tends to be in the form of a gas and therefore it makes it invisible to our eyes. But as it increases in altitude, that water vapor, it cools off and condenses to form clouds. So here are 6 steps that you need to know on how clouds form. It starts off with water being heated by the sun. The sun is the driving force to cloud formation. The more sunlight, the more evaporation that it can occur. Step 2, air near Earth's surface begins to warm up and rise. Remember from a couple lessons ago that warm air is less dense and will rise up in altitude until it cools off. Step 3, as that warm air rises, the temperature in the troposphere and the air pressure both drop. This will allow for condensation to occur. And that leads us into step 4. As the air cools, some of the water in the air condenses around particulates. The definition of particulates are very small pieces of dust and other pollutants that can be found in the atmosphere. Step 5, if the air is cold enough, the water will freeze into tiny little ice crystals. And when this happens to billions of water droplets and they condense near each other, that is when we see a cloud in the atmosphere. 3 things that you need to form a cloud are water vapor, a decrease in temperature or air pressure, typically it's both in the troposphere, and the third thing you need is a particulate. Examples would be dust, smoke, and other pollutants. And you can see over here on the right, we have our water vapor represented by the white circles. We have our dust, and we're going to assume that the air temperature drops, and so does the air pressure. And what happens is the water vapor finds a little dust particulate and is able to condense on it, forming the little cloud droplet. And when billions of these happen, they form a cloud. Now, in order for you to understand clouds and how they and where they're located and their shapes and things like that, you just need to know a couple of roots or prefixes. So the first root is cirro. This means high level in Latin. Alto is middle level in Latin. Nimbo means rain. So when you see nimbo in a cloud, it's a type of rain cloud. Strato means that the cloud is developed horizontally. And cumulo means that the cloud develops vertically. And hopefully these will make more sense when you're able to put these together with pictures and the remainder of our notes. So we're going to start off with the high level clouds. So if we look back here, we're going to start off with cirro. And that should be a pretty common theme in these clouds. And these clouds are found 5 to 13 kilometers above Earth's surface. The first cloud is the cirrus cloud. These are long, wispy, white streamers that are found high in the sky. They some people like to call them like a horsetail cloud. They kind of look like a horse's tail or a horse's mane. They look like tiny little hairs almost. Cirrus clouds are often associated with fair weather, on like a nice day. If they build up larger over time and they are followed by cirrostratus clouds, there may be a warm front on the way. So they can be an indication of a warm front moving in. The next type of cloud is the cirrocumulus cloud. So cirro, remember, means high level. Cumulus means vertically developing. These clouds are small, rounded little puffs that appear in rows high in the sky. That's the best way to explain them. They are usually white, but they might have a tint of gray in them. They kind of look like fish scales, if you want to go that far. And these can be common in winter. And they do indicate fair weather, which means like no precipitation, but typically they are formed in cold weather. That is why they are associated or common in winter. Cirrostratus clouds are the last high-level cloud that we are going to learn about. These are high-level clouds, cirro, and stratus, remember, is horizontally developing, and these are high-level clouds that are sheet-like. They cover a lot of the sky. Typically, it is the entire sky, but not necessarily always. These types of clouds usually come 12 to 24 hours before a rainstorm, or even in the wintertime, snowstorm. And they can be so thin that the sun or the moon can actually shine through and have like this little cool halo looking thing. And you can see on this picture here, you can see the halo from the sun coming through the cirrostratus clouds. The next type of cloud is the middle clouds, and these will have alto in them. There's only two types here that we're going to take a look at. The first one is alto cumulus. These are grayish white in one part and darker in the other part. So they kind of have two different shades. One's a gray color and the other part is a white. They usually form in groups. If you see these types of clouds on a warm, humid, or muggy morning, there might be a thunderstorm in the afternoon. So these clouds can predict a thunderstorm in the afternoon, depending on when they're in the sky. The second middle cloud is the altostratus cloud. Alto, remembers, middle level, and stratus is horizontally developing. So these are going to cover just about the entire sky. These are stratus clouds that form in the middle, 2 to 7 kilometers in altitude. They are usually gray. They might have a blue tint to them. The sun or the moon might be able to shine through them, but not always. If you see altostratus clouds, a storm with continuous rain or snow is most likely on its way. So these are the two middle clouds, middle altitude clouds that you need to know. Now we're going to move on to the low-level clouds. Now, low-level clouds don't necessarily have a prefix like cirro or alto. but you'll start to see a little bit of a pattern here. So the first low-level cloud forms 0 to 2 kilometers above the Earth's surface, and it's the stratus cloud. Stratus clouds are usually a uniform gray. They cover the entire sky. It can look like fog that just hasn't touched the ground just yet. So typically these are not associated with great weather. And they can be associated with like a light mist or drizzle when they're in the sky. So they can bring a little bit of precipitation in the sky. The next type of low-level cloud, the second, I should say, is the stratocumulus cloud. Again, 0 to 2 kilometers. These are low-level clouds, but they are a lumpy gray cloud. Sometimes they line up in nice, neat rows, and other times they can be spread out. In our picture to the right, you can see the rows formed. These clouds tend to bring a light rain or drizzle, and if they are larger than altocumulus, then they are the stratocumulus clouds. So let me explain that a little bit more. So if you remember back to the altocumulus clouds, they were quite small cumulus little puffs. If the puffs are a lot larger, then they will be classified as stratocumulus clouds. So a way to distinguish between them is to point your hand toward the cloud, and if the cloud is about the size of your fist from an arm length distance, then it's most likely a stratocumulus cloud. Just a little kind of handy tip there. The last low-level cloud is the nimbostratus. The nimbostratus are dark gray clouds, and they have ragged bases and sit very low in the sky. These are associated with continuous rain or snow in the winter. Typically, they cover the whole sky, and you can't see the edges of the cloud. So it's like one big endless cloud that you can't see the edge of. That would be the nimbostratus cloud. Now we're going to move into our last two cloud types, which are two clouds that have vertical growth. They grow up in the atmosphere. So that is why we have the altitude from 0 to 13 kilometers. The first is probably the most common when you look outside, especially in North Carolina, I feel like, the cumulus cloud. These are your stereotypical clouds. They're really puffy. They kind of look like cotton balls. These are your stereotypical clouds. They tend to have flat bases, but they have sharp outlines, that puff to them. These are associated with fair weather, but they can also be associated with some stormy weather as well, depending on how much they have grown. So watch for rain showers when the top looks like a cauliflower head. So when this cloud's top looks like cauliflower, you might want to look out for some possible rain in the near future, because it has gotten large enough to develop some precipitation. And then the last one is your stereotypical thunderstorm cloud, the cumulonimbus cloud. These are the real big thunderstorm clouds. They can have a vertical growth of up to 10 kilometers high. Once they get to about 10 kilometers up, the winds that are up in the upper parts of the troposphere and lower layers of the stratosphere kind of flatten off their top and give them this kind of like anvil looking shape. And it looks like they almost like just got squished a little bit. Cumulonimbus clouds are associated with thunderstorms. They can bring heavy rain. They can bring snow in the wintertime. They can bring hail, lightning, as well as tornadoes. So when a storm chaser, they're constantly looking for cumulonimbus clouds, because that's what their job is to chase storms. And these are the storm clouds that they desire. So with that being said, we have gotten to the end of our video lecture. what I would like you to do is to complete the 2.7 types of cloud ed puzzle. That video will go in the gradebook as a minor grade. And the second thing I want you to do, and make sure that you do this, is have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.